When we first got involved in starting our own business within this, we didn't expect that, but it was a dream. It was something that I always wanted to live on the water in Queensland and just sort of muck around on the water and drive a nice car and travel the world and do all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure people would be interested in things like that. Is that fair enough to say that? And the reason I tell you that is not to show off. The reason I tell you that is there's got to be a reason for you to go and do something, because I'm going to be honest, we didn't want to do this. I would be much happier. I would have been much happier at the time just milking the cows, because that was our comfort zone. Does anyone relate to that? That was where we wanted to be, was milking cows. But the more I looked at this, and the more we got around it, and the more we realised that we needed to do something if we wanted to have a different type of lifestyle. Now, if we didn't want a different lifestyle, we didn't have to do anything, did we? But if we wanted to, we needed to. So we actually had to do a whole bunch of things that we didn't want to do. And a lot of things, when we actually got started, I can't think of one thing in particular that I actually enjoyed about it. I don't want to sort of put you off here, but I think it's important to understand that sometimes you can see people who have developed a business within this industry and have been successful at it, okay, and are doing really well. It's important to realise that they're no different to anybody else. And because I see us when we got started, not today. I remember what we were like when we got started. See, nobody, like, you come to a meeting like this and you see someone speak about what they've developed within this industry, and you think, gee, they're sharp. I mean, you're probably thinking that right now, and thinking they're really sharp, and I can see why they could do it. But what I want you to realise is that it wasn't that long ago that we were sitting in your seat, and we're feeling exactly the same as you're feeling right now, whoever you are and whatever seat you're in, because we've been through it all. And what you want to take away from that is that if you're prepared to step out and learn a few things, and we've got a great system where you can learn a lot of those things, but if you're prepared to step out and just, I guess, in a little bit of faith and listen to a few people that can help you get where you want to go, you can actually set up whatever sort of lifestyle you want to set up, whenever you want to, basically. And it really is as simple as that. But just a few really basic things that we learned, which helped us develop this thing. Like I said, we weren't the perfect sort of people to build this business. Okay, even though we look like it now, we weren't. You know, I'll give you an example. The person who actually sponsored us into this business, or showed us this business and got us started in it, was a person that had only ever met us once before, 4 years earlier. Now, the reason all the other people we knew that were involved in it didn't speak to us is because they knew us. Does that make sense? We weren't the perfect sort of people to put this business in front of, because I knew everything. I actually knew more then than I know now, believe it or not. Okay? And so no one could actually tell me anything, because I already knew everything. And I was actually the person, whenever anyone in our area looked at this business or a business like this, I was the person that was sent around to talk them out of it. And I did a lot. Now, many people looked at this sort of, I can just think of 2 or 3 people in particular, or 3 people in particular, that did have a look at this opportunity a few years ago. And I remember speaking to each one of them and convinced them not to do it. And none of them ever have. Isn't that dumb of them? How dumb is that to listen to somebody that's only got an opinion? See, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just normal. Right? But the mistake they made was they listened to somebody that didn't have any sort of involvement in their future. There was no gain in their future. So what the mistake these people made was they listened to somebody who had no idea what they were talking about, which is pretty normal, isn't it? And one of the things that you will come across as you're developing your own business. You remember, when you get into business for yourself, because that's what you're doing here, when you get into business for yourself, one of the things you have to do is you have to be prepared to learn from people who have already done what you're setting out to achieve. Because if you try and get advice from people that can't help you get where you're going, then they can only ever give you their opinion, can't they? So a good example is, say if this is you here, and this person here is the person who showed you this idea or exposed you to the idea, okay, the opportunity. And then there might be someone else here, and up here somewhere is a platinum. Okay, and then there might be maybe an emerald or a diamond up here or something, but that's basically called a line of association. Okay, now these are, but basically how it works, this is in any business by the way, but in this business this is how this works. If that's you there, anyone here who's active and is building their own business within this industry, anyone here can help you become totally financially independent and wealthy. Anybody outside that can't. Do you understand? Anybody outside that can't. So if you're ever feeling like you need to speak to somebody outside here, don't speak to them about your financial future. Speak to them about anything else but that, because these people within this industry are the only people that have a financial interest in your future. Does that make sense to everybody? It's a really important thing to understand, because I know what I did. See, what those other people did is they asked me. Right? What we did, when we got involved in this, we asked a whole bunch of people out here what they thought of it, and they told us. But guess what? Every single one of them was wrong. Not only did they have an opinion, it was wrong. It was a wrong opinion. So thank goodness we didn't listen to them. Okay, so it's just a really good lesson. When you get involved in an opportunity where again you're getting into business for yourself, okay, then when you have an opportunity to set yourself up for the rest of your life in a relatively short period of time, if you're prepared to put some time and effort into something and learn from some people, then make sure you're getting advice from the correct people. Okay, and then once sort of that sunk in here, because we actually spoke to a lot of people before we realised that the people we were speaking to couldn't help us. Okay, now once you understand that, then all you have to do is just really quickly. I'm not going to spend much time on this. If you get a chance to have a look at one of these focus boards, it explains a lot about this, what I'm going to talk about here. But just, why would you get in business for yourself? Why would you actually go and start your own business and create something? Why would you? There's got to be a reason to do that. Okay, and that's one of the most important things that or if not the most important thing I think people need to spend time on, is actually working out what it is they're trying to achieve. You know, whether it's just to make a couple $100 to keep the wife off your back, or I know you want to set yourself up to be able to retire from your work and run your own business, or you might want to be able to travel the world, or buy a nice car, or send your kids to private school, or help a charity, or help your parents out, or help your kids out, or there's so many different things, isn't there? That is the most important part of building your own business, is actually understanding or defining why you would do it in the first place. Right? But unfortunately it seems to be the one thing that most people don't understand, based on our and most other people's teaching or training. See, my thinking was always, if people said, and this would never happen with dairy farmers, because dairy farmers never asked each other this question, but other people would say, so where are you going for holidays this year? And we'd say, well, it depends. Well, it depends on what? Well, it depends on how much money we're going to have. Okay, now that's how most people live, isn't it? Most people live based on, they're going to do something based on how much money or how much time they're going to have. Is that right? And you never seem to get any of either, do you? Have you noticed that? So what we learnt when we got involved in this system was, if time or money wasn't an option, what would you do? I know it sounds a bit crass, but what sort of car would you drive? What sort of house would you live in? Where would you live? Who would you help? Would you invest money? I don't know. What would you do if you didn't have to trade time for money? What would you do on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock? Don't know. Would you go fishing? Would you play golf? Would you stay in bed? Would you take up a hobby, go for a run? I don't know. Whatever it is. But they're the most important things I believe people need to do. But it's the thing most people forget. because they get so busy trying to build a business that they forget why they're doing it. So ask yourself that question: why? Why are you doing it? Second question is when? When do you want it? When do you want it? See, that I was talking to you about before about how we live today. That when we got involved in this industry and started to build our own business and really get stuck into this thing, okay, which is it's weird. I mean, who here works 80, 100 hours a week, 7 days a week? Okay, that's what we did. We worked 80, 100 hours a week, 7 days a week, okay, and we did this. Now, we had to have a reason to do it or we wouldn't have done it because we were too busy with the 80, 100 hours a week, 7 days a week. So our burn, if you like, or my goal, Wendy really didn't have one at the start. Her goal was to get me out of this thing. But thank goodness she didn't. And she'll tell you that. But what our goal was to make $2,000 a month to employ somebody to milk the cows. Now, if it took us 10 years to do that, and it took us 25 hours a week to do it over 10 years, would it be worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of you are going, oh, geez, I hope it doesn't take that long. Well, it doesn't. Right? But our attitude was if it took that long and we had to put that much time into it, it was still worth it, because if it took us 10 years to do it, I'd still only be 40 years old when it was done. And at 40 years old, I can employ someone full-time to milk the cows, and we would buy back virtually 80 hours a week. So it would be worth a few hours a week for 10 years to do it. What about if you set a goal? What about if you actually set a goal to earn $2,000 a month and you did it in 13 months? When your goal was 10 years, would you be excited? That's yes, that's no, that's who gives a rip, right? But who would be excited about that? Who would be excited about saying, whatever it takes, we're going to get this thing done, and all of a sudden it creeps up on you in a year and a half? It's like all of a sudden you find yourself, think about this, find yourself after working for 12 years, 13 years, 7 days a week, 80 hours a week, 365 days a year, and all of a sudden 13 months later, you never have to trade time for money ever again for the rest of your life. Who would get fired up by that, like so excited about I mean, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So, why not? Why not? The business is there. It already works. Okay, it's only ever getting better. We only get paid more. Right? So why not you? Why not go out there, find out, see, you got to find out what it is you want first. And then just find out who you need to speak to get it done. And then go and do it until it's done. Then you can sit back and do what we did last week, sitting on that amazing island up there, just sort of hanging loose. Because you just don't have a watch. Like, you don't know what the time is, and it really doesn't matter. It's like either daytime or nighttime. It's like, oh, it's dark, must be nighttime. Oh, it's morning, let's go for a walk. Or, must be mealtime, we're hungry. Don't know which one, but it's definitely mealtime. Right? And I don't know whether you can relate to living like that, but why not? Well, why can't you live like that? Who would like to live like that? Well, ask yourself this question: how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Okay, can you do it doing what you're doing now? If you can, fantastic. If you can't, it just means you have to do something else or do something different. Anything you do that's else or different is going to mean you have to go through a learning process, don't you? Because one of the things that frustrated me at the start was at 30 years of age or 31 years of age, I already knew everything. I knew enough to be a dairy farmer that was going broke. That's how much I knew. But to me, it was still enough. Something would come along. The old fingers crossed concept, right? But eventually what I found was I actually had to step over the line and I had to plug into this system that you've heard it before. You will hear about the tapes and the books and the functions and the meetings and the information. You need to plug into that to learn to develop a business like this. Or, for that matter, any business you go into. Remember, it's your own business. Okay? You have control of your own business. If you're going into business for yourself in any type of environment, don't you think the best thing to do would be is get as much information as you can on that industry? so you can develop it and make a profit as quickly as possible as soon as you can.